Welcome to the Program Pod, a production from the RCBC Podcast Network that offers a first-hand perspective from an RCBC student, faculty member, and employer.
Hello and welcome to the Program Pod, a production of the RCBC Podcast Network where we take an RCBC program and do a deep dive from three different perspectives: faculty, student, and employer. Thanks for joining the conversation with me, your host, Jay Varga. And our first episode, we're talking all things engineering and technology. With us today, we have Justin Schoopachevich, a recent graduate who overcame addiction and is working full-time at Lockheed Martin. Frank Cumbo, president and CEO of Denton Vacuum, a local manufacturer specializing in computer chips, and Dave Wilson, faculty member and program coordinator for RCBC's Engineering and Technology programs. RCBC embraces a student-first philosophy, and we have a student with an exceptional story today, and that's Justin. Justin, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the first ever Program Pod. And you have an exceptional story that is an inspiring journey to RCBC and your position with Lockheed Martin. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so growing up, I always did well in school and, tried my best. I have good parents that always try to teach me well. But, when you start getting into high school and all that, you start seeing different things, you start learning new things and wanting to try new things. So I was always the type where I really didn't want to participate in any of drinking or alcohol during high school, but I noticed that a lot of my friends wanted to also do that. And at one point, I even if anyone smoked or drank, I wouldn't even talk to them anymore. I would try to just not, communicate with them. But starting to see that's everyone's kind of doing it, and I can't just isolate myself from everybody. You kind of just jump into it and
peer pressure.
Do the same. Exactly.
Right.
It's peer pressure, So, I started trying marijuana and alcohol, and it quickly, got worse. And eventually I did, it was during the opiate epidemic at the time too. So I started, unfortunately, experimenting with opiates and stuff like that. The school found out, my parents did find out as well. They were heartbroken. The school was kind of heartbroken too, because I knew, I was very close with the principal and my teachers. So, eventually I did have to go to rehab and try to get clean. It didn't really work out the first time. It never does. I think it's 10% of people actually get clean when they go to rehab. So I came back from the rehab, still was going to school. Now they were going to let me still at least graduate. If you get caught with something like that in school, you can't go to prom, you can't go to Disney. So that was all taken away, but I was at least able to graduate because I did good grades at least. So after graduating, I tried to move to Florida to try to just get away and, change my surroundings, and that really didn't help at all either. I was still kind of doing the same thing. So I came back to New Jersey maybe 6 months later and, kind of convincing my parents that I'm clean and they think I am. They kind of might see something going on, but they just don't want to even engage in it because they don't want to be heartbroken again. So it comes to that point where eventually you can't hide the truth. You can't hide it. And, they found out again and they said, all right, you need to, get clean. And if it wasn't for them, I really wouldn't have pushed so hard, because eventually you hit the rock bottom where you're just tired of disappointing them and you're tired of being the failure, of the family, or, I crashed my car twice. That really wasn't fun either. So so eventually I was like, I need to get sober. So I went to California this time. I was like, I need to get far away, and went to rehab there, and I loved it. It was really nice. California, it's beautiful, and it's a nice place to get away. So I came back home, and I was clean for a little bit, but I did eventually go back to drinking and stuff and marijuana. So eventually I'm like, I can't do any of this. It's just not going to work out for me. I need to just stop completely. So my parents said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go back to California. There's sober living out there. I didn't try that yet. I was always just trying, quick rehab. So I went out there and started sober living. I eventually got a couple jobs. I worked at Walmart, which was far away. I actually had to get rides every day. I had to ride my bike, so that was kind of humbling. But it was just too far, so I had to quit that job. So then I worked at Domino's, which I worked for in New Jersey. So I kind of knew how it ran. So I started working at the Domino's in San Diego, and I loved it. And I eventually started working 40 hours a week. I became the assistant manager, then the lead assistant manager to the general manager. And worked really hard, made good money, and then I got an apartment. So I was able to leave the sober living, live on my own, and I was really moving forward. It was nice to do things for myself. I was able to buy a car myself, which was awesome. So then 3 years went by. I said, I think I'm ready to go back home. My parents were very unsure about me coming back home, but I said, I think I can do this. So I went back home, and I started working for Domino's back home as well. And I said, I think I'm going to try to become a general manager. I know I can do it, and I'm going to go for it. So within 3 months of being back in New Jersey, I was probably 21 at this time, 22, and I became general manager. So that lasted for a couple of months, maybe like 6-7 months. And I said, I don't know if I want to do this my whole life. And another general manager friend mentioned to me, she said that she wants to go back to college. And I really didn't even think about that at the time. Like, hey, I've been sober for this long. I can go back to college and maybe try to become something. So I knew that I really liked electronics. I always fix my parents' phones or my grandparents if they have any issues.
I mean, what kids don't fix parents' phones these days? Though?
That is true. So we always got all the, the tips and tricks. So I thought, okay, I'll go to college for electronic engineering. So I eventually, came here in 2019. I started and was working really hard, did 3 or 4 classes a semester. And then when summer came around, the next summer, I was working at just a pizza shop, but I was doing freshman engineering, Clinic 1, and that's when I met Professor Wilson. And, he's been a great teacher. He's a great educator, and he teaches everyone really well. And I just kind of got, attached to him. I thought that he was a really good guy, and so we decided to work on the project, and I made a watering plant project, which came out really cool. And then we had another class together. We had Circuits 2 together. So I took Circuits 2 before Circuits 1. I missed the class, but I took Circuits 2 together, and I also had Professor Wilson at this time. And throughout the whole time of being in his classes, he would always try to push the students to try to go for internships or any opportunities that he found online or was told about, he would send them our way. So it was probably the second or third one, but it was for Lockheed Martin. And that's something I forgot to mention. I really wanted to work at Lockheed Martin in the beginning. That was the reason I went to college again. I'm like, I would love to work for them. So he gave me that opportunity. He's like, hey, there's an opening for Lockheed Martin. It's an internship. So I said, I jumped on it. And I was interviewed by my boss, Alex Silvestro. And I became an intern. It was awesome. I had a great time. I started June 28th, and on September 7th, I became full-time. So I'm working there now, and I'm loving life.
It's awesome. It's an awesome story to go from addiction and everything to that.
Yeah.
Professor Wilson, what is it like to work with students like Justin when everything just seems to kind of click in?
Thank you, Jason. Justin, thank you for the compliment. Well, here, this is how we answer your question. And so this what you would do. First thing, it is good to actually be able to tell actually students actually aptitudes, their desires to succeed. And then you must be able to provide the assisting, the opportunities, and then they help them grow through. So as educator, it should kind of be incumbent upon us to actually provide those assistance, those means, and get to know our students quite better. And so what we do is in our EGR, which is our early clinic classes, engineering clinic classes, we have a series of steps, right? So the very first week, what we do is we use the first week course content to actually determine and motivate the students to the point where we feel we know their skills, we know what they bring on board, what are their failures, what they are not good in, what are their weaknesses. And then you put all of that together and get to know exactly what the students definitely can do.
Sure.
With that in mind, you now can set a goal and then create the motivations and inspiration for the students so that they themselves then can strive through and be able to succeed. And so with that, we do that pretty good. And Justin was one of the students. The very first time he I met him in my classes, and I do that with all of my students. Thank God, all of my students are pretty good students. But Justin was able to actually sink in very well. I saw the desires, I saw the interest, and something told me this lot of story about his additions in the past was something I didn't know, but I saw something that this kid really wanted to change his life. He was always asking me questions. He was always very close. He would ask a lot of questions after class. He would come back and begin to ask me things that I think he really needs something. And that, when he said I drew him closer, that was one of the reason why. And that was not all. Justin really have a couple of skills. He's more eager and hungry to learn. And so I would say the truth, he's tried very hard. He did pretty good in classes. He brought a lot on board. He programs very, very well.
Thank you.
Right. And so his successes are a composition of what his own hunger to learn, and us reaching forward to say, look, these are the opportunities, these are the things we can provide, and guiding him through.
It's nice when a student like that comes along, though.
Right.
Sometimes makes your job a little easier as well. True. I used to teach as well, and I try to find internships and get into broadcasting and stuff too. The ones that really wanted that drive, which is great. Again, another great story.
And I can't thank you enough, but my mom also can't thank you enough. She loves you. So I never met the guy, but I love him.
Professor Wilson, the program pod, as you know, takes a triangular view of education with points among faculty, students, and employer. How do we engage with the local employers?
Okay, so I would say this. That is the goal for which we're here, right? So our goal, first thing, the end goal is to make sure that our students succeed, right? The second thing is we really want to make sure that our students graduate and are able to take part and compete in the outside world, right? And all of that goes putting together, we have to do a survey and get to know what our community is, what are the industries, and what they really demand of us. And so outreach is one of the big things we do. We kind of do outreach for our own communities. We engage community leaders. We engage our industries. We engage the employers. And then with a survey, we know what they need. That comes into our curriculums and so forth, and that helps a whole lot for us to know exactly what we're teaching, and so that's the easier way. That's the reason for which we actually engage our employers, and they in turn are kind of fall right back on us and say, listen, this is what we want. We want to see what you have.
So how does that actually improve the program, developing meaningful connections with the employers and the students with this advisory board?
Okay. So if breaking the advisory board, that's pretty good. And I would say there's a lot of things that advisory board does, because the advisory board, I will put in two words, two major things they do. They provide advising, and they are the policemen. Right. So what to do? And there is no specific order to this. The advisory board actually help us on advising our curriculums, our programs, our courses changes, and all of that. And they kind of do the outreach, actually finding other industries out there. And the good thing they do is they kind of work in between to let us know what the industry out there are, what the employers need, what is in our curriculum to meet those demands. How can we do changes? How can we update our curriculums, our programs, and so forth, so that they will meet the demands of our employers? So the advisory board actually do much more of that. And the end thing is that all of that gears towards preparing us, because we are an ABET accredited institution. So with all of the advices that we'll provide, the policings, and seeing that we're meeting these demands, that our curriculums are meeting the needs, and so forth, it helps us also to cross over and make the ABET accreditations, which just recently, because for good news, we just got accredited.
Nice.
Our EET programs. And that was also good because the advisory board has worked along with us through that and led us through the preparations and going through the accreditations. So the advisory board, in short, is what would you call them? The building block between everyone else, the employer, the students, us, helping us to meet the employer's need, helping us to meet actually the needs of getting our curriculums, meeting the demands, and at the same time, helping us to prepare our students for the outside work competitions. So they are the policeman and the advisor.
Well, speaking of the advisory board, we're joined by the chair of RCBC's Engineering Advisory Board, Frank Cumbo, president and CEO of Denton Vacuums. Frank, welcome. Can you please tell us a little bit about Denton Vacuum?
Sure, thank you very much. Denton Vacuum is a capital equipment manufacturer for the semiconductor industry. We focus on the optoelectronics area markets. So we make equipment that helps build chips that turn into lasers, turn into night vision goggles, turn into sensors that you use for your LiDAR for your car for like a collision avoidance, and those lane control driver and assist programs they have now. It's all called LiDAR. Very high tech. I think 40% of our employees are 4-year degree employees, and then there's a number of 2-year degree employees as well. Mechanical engineering. Electrical engineering, computer engineering. So, Justin, we'll steal you away from Lockheed someday, hopefully. If you're a good programmer, we need good programmers. We have process engineering, so it's heavy into the chemical engineering side of things, physics. We do a lot with light because it's the opto part of electronics. So, everything you do with electromagnetic spectrum, UV light, IR light, infrared light. So it's very high tech, and I think just a great place for anyone who has a love for, a passion for technology to work at.
So why was it important for you to be a part of the advisory board, and why do you think it was this is valuable to an employer?
I think it's very valuable. First, I think one of the foundations of any company are the people. It's all the people, and we're big believers at Denton and training our workforce. So that's how I first got acquainted with RCBC, in fact, was through the Workforce Development Group, and working with them to apply for a grant at New Jersey that I can help train my employees. So we were able to win a grant from the state, and we provided our employees Six Sigma training for quality management, project management training, and leadership training. So from the workforce development, somehow I got associated with the STEM division and Dr. Tate, and Dr. Tate asked if I would be interested in being on his board, and I said yes, and that led to being the leader of the board. And it's such a great, fulfilling, rewarding position because. For a few reasons. Number one is you're helping the college. You're helping the college with their strategic plan and accessibility, affordability, and quality. But for our own personal interests at Denton Vacuum, we're also able to make relationships with the professors and the students, and find the best students and try to bring them into our companies. As Professor Wilson was describing. We help with the curriculum development. Our goal is to have employees come to work for us and hit the ground running on day one. That's kind of like the motto we use. So, working with the college, we help define what soft skills like leadership and team building, skills that they need, what hard skills like SolidWorks and whatever the specific courses are in mechanical engineering technology or electrical engineering technology, to help make sure that those students have the right skills and tool sets, so when they come to work for Denton, they're able to start bringing value to the company right away.
Professor Wilson, can you actually comment on why you think it's important that the faculty develop these personal relationships with the students and employers in the hiring process?
Oh, yeah. Before I do that, let me just go right back quickly because I forgot this piece I had. Here's another good thing the board does for us. They also help us to actually with when we talk about helping us do all these changes in our courses and advancements on the curriculum and so forth. They also help us also to work perfectly in directions where we can be able to create those transferability credits for our students to higher institutions as well. Well, with these questions, I would say. Again, that just brings us back to the goal for which the engineering department and the objective for which we stand. And what are we created for? What do we do? What do we want to achieve? And the end result is actually to prepare our students to be able to meet with the external demands, which is the world demands. And so what we do actually, the reason that the faculties and everyone we do is first thing be able to create a survey and see what is needed, to help us reach this goal. What are the employers? What do they want? Once we get to do that, then of course we have to look on the other side and say, what do we have for the employers? And so the faculty reaching out to faculties or us reaching out to employers reaching back to us through either the board or directly. The end result is to make sure we are meeting the goals, our objectives, and then at the same time being able to prepare our students for the real world.
So Justin, with all of that, how was from your perspective as a student, how was this whole this process? How sweet, you talked about Professor Wilson and the admiration that you have for them, but for the whole, even like the Lockheed Martin, the hiring process, and obviously Professor Wilson helping out with that. How did that go for you?
I think it's great. I mean, throughout this whole college experience, there's been plenty of companies that come in and they'll talk to us. For example, we had Radwell come in maybe last year and spoke with the class, did a little slideshow PowerPoint, and they showed us kind of what they do and said if anyone wants to come for a tour, they can come check it out. There's plenty of opportunities around here to do something with engineering. We had that meet and greet last week, which was really great. That was something that it was fun to experience. And I just think there's plenty of opportunity. Lockheed's very good with also pitching in, as is Denton. They really do help, the students prepare for the world, getting out there and knowing what to do and having those tools to do it. For example, right now we learn how to use the oscilloscope. So Lockheed, they're gonna donate a couple, network analyzers, I believe.
That's right.
And spectrum analyzers. So we'll know how to use that as well. So there's never been courses for those. So they're gonna make those courses specifically for those machines, which are used at companies. So it's all kind of hand in hand with, the companies and the school.
It's pretty exceptional.
And just to add to what Justin just said, though, and these are things we do here. Besides us having these hand-on courses and classes, having these project classes, having these prototype being built by students, projects are being designed, we bring the industry to the classroom. So we actually bring the industry class to the classroom by bringing in professionals, engineers, and people in from these industries partners, and they come to the classroom and hold our lectures, with the students. So that's one of the ways we can open up the students' horizons to
kind of see outside the classroom, but
outside
in the classroom.
of the classroom, but in the classroom.
Yes.
To the industries. We do field trips as well. So it's a lot of things we do to build our students' successes.
It's amazing when you do that type of stuff. Again, when I was teaching them, it was the same thing because they don't really understand until they see it for themselves.
That's right.
Or talk from industry experts.
Right.
Just because sometimes you're just the one voice of the classroom, but when you bring it to them, then it kind of like stimulates them a little bit more. In case in point with Justin. Oh, yeah. But talking about these projects, Justin, the self-watering plant. Can you describe that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So the watering plant project was built with a group of us. I believe it was 4 or 5 of us. So what we did, I did the coding. It had temperature gauge, moisture sensor. It also had a light sensor, so it knew if the sun was up or down. It would water the plants if it was sundown, because you need to water the plants in the morning. We did a lot of research with that as well. It's part of the 10-step engineering process. So it also has the timer. So there's a 24-hour timer on it. It will water the plants every 24 hours, check the moisture levels. So if it's already at a good moisture level, it won't water the plants. Or if it's really hot because of that temperature sensor, it will water the plants as well. But it's also checking, is it hot? Is it nighttime? It's checking, when's the last time the timer went off? What's the moisture levels like? So it's checking all these things, and it was a really cool project to work on. Now, this year we worked on, it was kind of like a Carvana project. That was another one that we did. So that one I did a little different. So one thing with the watering plant project, that also had a remote control, so you can, control it from a distance. So this project that I wanted to do with the Ferris wheel project, I wanted to add Bluetooth. So it also had its own kind of wireless communication going on, because if you have a Ferris wheel system, that's kind of what we used for Carvana. you can't really have wires attached to the Ferris wheel or you're going to get all tangled up. So we had Bluetooth to talk to it and send the gyroscopic signals to the Arduino. And Arduino is usually what we use in the school. We also have a DE1 board, which I'm working on now in digital electronics. So there's been a couple of projects that I worked on, and I love them. Probably because they're mine.
Sure. Yeah. And did you get a patent on that self-watering plant?
No,
I know a lot of people that can do that. Probably my wife as well. She's not. Which ironically enough, her mother's a florist, but
oh wow,
just not. No, she doesn't have too much success rate with the plants. So self-watering plants like that. But Professor Wilson, these type of projects, how are they from RCBC, the RCBC students projects? How are they on par with some of the projects you've seen presented with four-year universities?
Okay, so I would say that there isn't much difference on what is done in four-year universities or other areas, because my experiences is that I actually have had the opportunity to run engineering programs in other schools, and most of these projects are projects that we have done in the past. So as we're talking right here, one of the things we're trying to do right now is the watering project, the ferry wheels, and even my students' last project was a vending machine, so that is able to provide you whatever you wanted. And those projects, I have told the students, Justin and others are going to break those projects down. We're going to rebuild it and update it to some level, right? And what we're trying to do is, and that goes through, once we do those, we will see if what we're creating is actually different, falling from what is out there, and that's one. Two, but we know we are doing something different with what we're doing. Like the vending machine we're doing right now, that the students have right now, is a Bluetooth controls device actually. So you can walk up to a vending machine. It doesn't matter. You just take your phone and be able to get what you want. You don't have to go and touch that. Of course, it's good for COVID period right now.
Sure.
Yeah. So. And in short answer, what we're doing here isn't really different from what is being done in other schools. We're following the same process, the 10 steps engineering designs processes, and they are doing the same thing we are doing.
That's great stuff. Have a good success rate because he's, Justin over here being locked up by Lockheed Martin itself, living the dream.
Not just Justin's. We also have companies that employ some of our students as well.
Yes, Frank. How many students do you have with us right
now? We have 4 from Rowan, 3 from the university, 1 intern now. It was a summer intern in mechanical engineering. He did such a great job. We decided to keep him through the fall, and we're hoped that we are able to make him an offer in May. So bring him on board full time. I think Justin mentioned the meet and greet, and I got to see all these projects. Really incredible. I mean, it's so similar to what we do in our company in terms of the sensors and the controls and the software to make it all work right. And it's great to see that these young students are able to put a project like that together. And again, that type of work will allow them to hit the ground running on day one when they come work for Denton.
What type of demand is there for what your guys are doing?
I think just in the South Jersey region in general, I think it's very strong. There's a lot of high-tech manufacturing companies, even just in a 5-mile radius around Rowan. Specifically at Denton, we're a small company, but we're growing very quickly. And one of our biggest challenges, and a lot of companies have the same challenge, is just talent management and recruiting, the right level of engineer or talent. Sometimes you don't need an entry level. You need somebody with experience.
Sure.
But when you need an entry level and you have a relationship with a great school like Rowan, it's great to be able to recruit those students and bring them into our company.
And again, Justin, you're still in the 3+1 program here at RCBC?
Yeah, so apparently they're bringing it back. So they were trying to make it happen when I first started here, but it never really transpired. But apparently it's going to start back up. So I'm very excited for that.
So what would you tell to an aspiring student like yourself? Obviously, you have a great story to tell. Obviously, overcoming addiction and doing to what you're doing now, working for that dream job of Lockheed Martin. But someone's just kind of maybe, I don't want to say lost, but just looking for maybe a new direction or something aspiring. Why engineering technology? What makes you passionate about it and being a part of this program where you can team up with people like Frank and Professor Wilson?
It's kind of funny because I have a lot of friends that aren't going to college, and I tell them, the first thing I tell them is go on RCBC's website and look at their courses, what they have to offer. There's a whole page of all different things, and you can check those all out and kind of find something that catches your eye. Maybe, circle three of them. And from there, you just kind of think, like, what do you really like to do? What's something that you enjoy doing? When you first get out of high school, not everyone knows what they want to do. Most people don't know what they want to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. I did not expect to do electronic engineering. But yeah, just always, take the time to find what you really love. Don't rush it, because you don't want to just waste the money. That's an important thing too. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here, and if you find something that you love, you're sure to make it happen.
What about you, Professor Wilson? What would you say to a prospective student?
I would just go right back to what Justin is saying, because that is what I told you. We have this Clinic 1 course, which is the engineering clinics. And like I said, in that engineering course, we take the very first week, just exactly what Justin just said, and we kind of build up the students, help them to really decide, give them an idea what engineering is, what are the different type of engineering courses are, what are engineering professions are, and then see that they develop interest. So the engineering clinic course we have is really, really good. It helps the students to actually determine what they really want to do, what sort of engineering career they want to pick up for their lives, and so forth. How can they go through that? How can they strive through that? How they can be successful and all of that. So again, don't stay out there. Justin's just told you that, right? Go on the website, look at the curriculums, look at the content we provide. I'm on the website as well as the chair of the Applied Engineering Technology Department, Mr. Wilson. My extension is there. Give me a call if you need to ask few questions. I do that very often. We can discuss, and I can provide the answers to some of your questions. And then we have also, of course, the enrollment office here. Call them directly. Have the counseling office as well. So there's more help here. There's
plenty.
Right, that can provide all answer to most of your questions.
And of course, the website is
The website is also pretty good.
Yes, but rcbc.edu for those listening where they are. Well, gentlemen, again, I thought this has been awesome for the inaugural production of the program pod on the RCBC podcast network. We're going to start taking a lot more dives into programs that are awesome, just like yours, and hearing these great experiences. And thanks for sharing so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go to wrap it up, or some final thoughts from any one of you?
No, I just appreciate your time. Yeah, if you want to say something.
Just one final thought to kind of elaborate on what Justin and Professor Wilson were saying.
Sure.
One thing I really like with the 2-year degree, and it could lead to the 4-year degree, is just a hands-on nature. I mean, our jobs at Denton are very hands-on. You're working on equipment. You're fixing problems all the time. So these projects that they're working on, plus all the the machine tools that I know in the mechanical engineering area, they have their students work on that. It really gives you appreciation for when you design something. If you have to build it, you get a different appreciation for maybe design for manufacturability. And so I think putting it all together, it's a really comprehensive way that RCBC is going to train the student. And just one last thought is the soft skills. I think one of the things that the advisory board has really worked closely with Rowan on is really just making sure the students have the leadership skills, the team building skills, the quality management skills. Some of the things you don't usually see in a curriculum. You usually see in physics, chemistry, biology, but this is not lean manufacturing or Six Sigma. So it's really been, I think, a great teamwork to work together on that type of curriculum.
And I just want to throw a little bit of light on it. So that's why we talk about all of these talking about hands-on projects and internship, employment, and so forth. Our curriculums are also set and to have you also transfer to higher institutions. So we have our curriculums. I mean, our credits are being accepted by Rowan, Drexel, Rockwell, and many other higher institutions around the area. So we're not just limited to having you preparations for job market, but you can also continue your higher education as well.
Well, it's good stories to be sharing with everybody. And again, just want to thank everybody here for the inaugural production of the Program Pod, and just want to thank our guest again, RCBC student, and great story, such an awesome success story, Justin Schoopachevich. Frank Cumbo, again, president and CEO of Denton Vacuum, the local manufacturer specializing in computer chips, and of course, RCBC's own Dave Wilson, faculty member and program coordinator of RCBC's Engineering and Technology programs. I'm Jay Varga, and if you want to learn more about RCBC's programs, which we talked about, you can go to our website at rcbc.edu. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Program Pod so you can join us again next month. And if you appreciate the show, jump on over to iTunes, click on the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. And once again, thank you for listening, and we'll do it again soon.